There's a new DOF in town. AccumulationDOF was just added to UE5 main branch this past weekend, bringing production quality path traced like depth of field results to rasterized lumen renders for the first time, allowing insane things we never thought we would get in rasterized rendering, like artifact-free foreground blur with no bleeding, the ability to correctly focus through transparencies, and even into reflections. AccumulationDOF is a technique purely designed for production renders, so it isn't for real-time usages. The way it works is that for every time sample, the renderer renders a user-defined amount of depth of field samples from slightly different camera or sensor positions and blends these all together, with the end result being effectively similar to what you get in a real camera. In addition, it can use small splats of engine depth of field blur to fill in between the samples, reducing the amount you need to give for a decent result. Taking a look here at this shot from my Pivot Painter project, this right now is using the traditional post-process depth of field. Has a number of issues due to the shallow focused nature of the shot. In this case, everything looks a little too blurred, and anywhere there are thin parts of geometry in the foreground, it completely falls apart, becoming a mush with a bunch of artifacting, and it just looks wrong. Now let's switch to AccumulationDOF version. Right away, the scene feels more correct, and we now have a huge amount of detail coming back. Look at all these out-of-focus foreground grass blades now. If we take a look side by side, we can now clearly see the in-focus ground behind, and most importantly, through the now semi-transparent out-of-focus grass. This is how a real camera exhibits. In addition, there are no weird blotchy artifacts showing up anywhere. This result gives the whole shot a much more organic feel and looks fantastic. And most notably, extremely temporally stable. If you want to try this out, it's super easy to set up. Just grab the latest UE5 main, compile the engine, and enable the new Accumulation Depth of Field plugin. This gives you a neat little preview feature in the viewport to preview how it may look. As you can see here, since I have moving foliage, it isn't super useful for this scene, but you get the idea. One thing to note is to make sure if you're using the nice barrel camera features, is that AccumulationDOF uses these values a bit more realistically than you may be used to. If you set the barrel length too long, you will actually see the inside of the lens barrel just like some real-world lenses. Pretty cool. Once you're all set up there, just head to your standard movie render queue. Movie render graph isn't supported yet, unfortunately, and in your settings, instead of having the normal deferred renderer entry, add the AccumulationDOF one. And here we can set our settings. You have aperture samples and splat size as the two main ones. These are the values I chose for this shot. Now take note, this is now how many samples will run on each time sample. So if you crank the time samples up to get really nice motion blur, you may want to reduce the aperture samples in the interest of speed. And that's it, you just hit render. Pretty amazing results. I'm super excited to see where this goes as it matures, but already the quality of output is, well, unreal. Definitely want to do a lot more with focusing through transparencies now, as you can see here. The results speak for themselves. See you next time.